Well, here we go with our second scenario character. And you don't want to mess with her and her village. Cadence is who we are talking about today, so let's get started. Cadence is a playable Hydro character in Genshin Impact. The scion of Almar and the guardian of Aro Village, Cadence is kind to travelers who visit, but is unforgiving to those who violate the village's rules. Cadence is a 4-star female character in Genshin Impact. Her weapon is a polearm, and her vision element is Hydro. Her birthday is May 3rd, and her constellation is Shadida Scudum. She comes from the region of Shimeru. She has an affiliation with Aro Village. Her special dish is Utmost Care, which is the variant of Aro Mixed Rice. Cadence became the playable character on September 28, 2022. The 4 voice actors of this village guardian, who she will do anything to protect in the 4 localizations of Genshin Impact are Shara Kirby in English, Zhang Qi in Chinese, Yuzuki Ryoko in Japanese, and Jeon Yansu in Korean. Cadence has 2 titles, which are Golden Vow and Guardian of Aro Village. Cadence uses the tall female model. She has tan skin and dark blue hair. Her eyes exhibit a form of heterochromia iridum. Her right eye is dark blue, and her left eye is golden yellow. The outfit she wears is called Desert and Night. Cadence's hair is styled into 2 twin tails with the back as well as her fringe cut short. She wears a black headband adorned with a gold symbol in front and a large golden headpiece at the back of her head that resembles a crescent moon. The outfit consists of a gold choker around her neck, a dark purple and white off crop top with gold details that exposes part of her chest, detached following purple sleeves with gold trinkets and a purple loincloth with gold stripes worn over indigo shorts, and held together with a large white piece of fabric adorned with a gold moon-shaped trinket. Cadence has a large golden trinket around her right leg, and sports purple and golden sleeves around her calves in gold strappy sandals. Cadence's outfit is described as, no matter where she goes, the golden sands and the nights of her homeland that adorn her clothes go together with her. Cadence is a young woman who serves as Aro Village's guardian. She protects the inhabitants from the dangers of the Great Red Sand, such as bandits and natural disasters. She treats all visitors to the village with utmost respect regardless of wherever they came from, as long as they abide by the village's rules. However, should they endanger the village or its inhabitants, Cadence is shown to be extremely ruthless and terrifying. Gleaming Spear, Guardian Stance is Cadence's normal attack. The normal attack performs up to 4 constructed spear strikes, while the charge attack consumes a certain amount of stamina to lunge forward, dealing damage to opponents along the way. And the plunging attack plunges from mid-air to strike the ground below, damaging opponents along the path and dealing AoE damage upon impact. Sacred Rite, Heron's Sanctum, is Cadence's elemental skill. Cadence's fighting style is capable of warding off an entire tide of foes. Using tap, she rushes forward with her shield, dealing a hydro damage to opponents in front of her. And with hold, Cadence raises her shield to block incoming attacks from nearby opponents, forming a barrier that absorbs damage based on her max HP and absorbs hydro damage 250% more effectively. This barrier lasts until the elemental skill is unleashed. After holding for a certain period of time, Cadence will finish charging, and when the skill button is released, the skill duration expires, or when the barrier is broken. She will perform a leaping strike and deals hydro damage to opponents in front of her. Sacred Rite, Wagtail's Tide, is Cadence's elemental burst. Raising her weapon on high, Cadence calls upon a divine blessing that deals AoE hydro damage based on her max HP and continually confers the player of the Crimson Crown on your active character. With the Prayer of the Crimson Crown, this effect has the following properties. Characters deal increased elemental damage with their normal attacks. Whenever a character takes the field, they will unleash a ripping wave of water that deals hydro damage to nearby opponents. There is a limited number of waves that can be triggered in the duration of the skill. Sword, Claymore, and polearm-wielding characters under this effect will obtain a hydro infusion. Aegis of Crossed Arrows is Cadence's first Ascension passive skill. If Cadence is hit by an attack in hold duration of Sacred Rite Heron's Sanctum, that skill will finish charging instantly. Celestial Dome of Sand is Cadence's fourth Ascension passive skill, which when a character is affected by the Prayer of Crimson Crown, caused by Sacred Rite Wagtail's Tide, will deal 0.5 increased damage percent to opponents for every 1000 points of Cadence's max HP when they deal elemental damage with their normal attacks. To Dawn's First Light is Cadence's utility passive skill. It decreases climbing stamina consumption for your own party members by 20%, not stackable with passive talents that provide the exact same effects. Cadence, who has heterochromia eyes, serves as the guardian of our village. Cadence always shows the greatest kindness to all travelers visiting the village, and she will not pursue an indefinite flux past so long as that person corrects themselves in time. In Cadence's view, the village rules are the most important thing. So long as these boundaries are respected, anyone can be allowed to rest in our village. But woe betide those who regard this tolerance as weakness. Those who try to do anything illegal in our village will definitely pay the price. By then, they will find that Cadence's lance and shield truly are the most frightening of weapons. The Scion of Almar, a member of Desert Folk, the guardian Cadence, buried as she is with multiple identities, also bears the eternal responsibility of guarding our village. This village only welcomes those who can follow the rules. Our village is the final refuge for King Destret's descendants. The mission of the Aru village's guardian is to guard the village till the last of King Destret's people fade away. When Cadence was officially appointed as the new guardian at the tender age of 8, the one who handed the position over to her admonished her as such. With King Desert's death, it was already a blessing that his descendants might have such a refuge from this world. And so, generation after generation, the guardians take up their duties in silence, defending countless villagers until they pass on as the descendants of King Dysart, and gain eternal peace. It was once the common wish of the residents of our village to fade away in peace. sequestered in their village. However, when new life emerges in this ancient village, everything that they used to know might just have to change a bit. When Uncle Ampu, the village head, announced that a caravan from Shimeru City was about to arrive in the village for trade, the former guardians could hardly believe their eyes. They interrogatorily accused Uncle Ampu of undermining tradition and requested that Cadence, the current guardian, do her duty by summoning guards to drive the merchants out. However, Cadence refused the request, for she had already reached an agreement with the village head that the village must make changes for the future of its residents. They kept explaining, but the former keepers did not relent, and it was even struggled that if Cadence was unwilling to do her duty, they would take up arms again and carry out a guardian's work themselves. At least, a cling of lance against shield silenced all the quarrels. With the lance and shield in her hand, Cadence stood up and looked around with a smile before announcing to the stand elderly folk around her, "It is good to see you all in such good spirits, but I am the current guardian of our village, so please go and rest as you should." The persuasive power of weapons trampled words at this moment, and it seems that it would be enough to end the facades. After a moment's preparation, Cadence accompanied the village head in her station as guardian to formally receive the caravan and hold trade negotiations with them before personally escorting them out of the village. A few days later, the merchants visited again and completed this seemingly humble transaction regarding cloths. This branch of merchants returned to Sumeru village with news of the success of the deal. Soon after, a new topic cropped up among the business folk of Shimeru, one which had been rarely heard of in the past. "Hey, you know what? Someone went to our village to do business, and they made a good sum of more too. Think we should give it a shot next time?" In truth, Cadence doesn't often use her lance and shield as debating tools. The children in our village have always believed that Big Sis Cadence will only frown no matter how angry she is. At most, she might ask the children in trouble to copy the calligraphy prepared for them by Grandma Kosum several times. The other guards in our village believe that although Cadence's requirements are strict, she will not give out corporal punishment to those who slack off or whose physical abilities are not up to par. In that, she will simply guide them with more care instead. The older folks in the village for their period note that Cadence is a person who will not let negative emotions show on her face, and indeed, she has never once looked sad in front of them. Even the merchants who visit the village will be received by Candace with the utmost hospitality, from introductions to accommodations. She arranges everything in good order. Perhaps she might even be too gentle for the merchants' comfort. After all, this village is next to Great Red Sand. Leaving the monsters aside, lawless bandits must have long had this village in their sights. Is the guardian truly capable of protecting everyone and their business as well? One night, a drunken merchant dared to ask, "Guardian, we can do business in the village, no problem, but as you know, this desert is a real den of outlaws." "You need not worry about this. Only those who abide the rules shall be guests in our village. As for those who don't, those who do not respect the rules shall be the enemies of our village. Whether they are eremites hiding in the stands, bandits disguised as adventurers, or treasure hoarders attempting to steal goods, anyone who dares to invade the village, no matter how they may try to hide and escape, will eventually receive the punishment they deserve. Those who seriously confess their guilt will be forgiven and given enough supplies to cross the sands, but never again will they be permitted to show their faces around our village. As for the more reluctant sort, they Despicable souls shall be find company only with the desert sands. A former member of the Eremites once warned his companions that Cadence, the terrifying guardian of the village, is a true descendant of King Desert. The shield in her hand possesses the blessing of Almar, such that as long as its wielder holds it tightly, every grain in the great desert will heed her call. So if Cadence so wishes, she could even send forth a huge sandstorm to engulf all her foes. Not only that, her amber left eye can also perceive the future and read the fates of others. Indeed, such is a terrible might that none can never escape her pursuit. Such are people's beliefs concerning Cadence, that she has swept all of Aru village's enemies away by virtue of these divine powers. Only Cadence herself knows that she has never really felt the blessing of Alamar. The guardians have never been blessed by the grace of God. This is a secret handed down from guardian to guardian. Only when a new guardian takes up their shield will they be told the truth. The effects of the truth on those now in the know has varied. Some gave up and became so despondent that they stopped practicing martial arts. Some came to believe that since they are not being watched, they didn't have to obey the rules either, and so acted recklessly, even in violation of the law. But Cadence was not depressed. My lance and shield are not wielded as a prayer for a god's blessing. My duty will not change regardless of whether any god favors us or not. She practices diligently day after day, and through this has forged both an extraordinary will and martial skills. Many who have visited our village have extended invitations to Candace, wondering why someone as capable as her would choose to live in such an inconspicuous place if she was willing to leave. They often say she may yet be able to start a new career. Yet Cadence always answers them truthfully. A guardian will not leave what they have been proposed to protect. Cadence often provides all kinds of trinkets from merchants who visit our village. Hairpins adorned with aquamarine beads, headbands made of silk and satin, gilded necklaces, metal bracelets engraved with kalpa, lotus patterns, pendants with emblems of the academia's colleges dawned upon them. While Dia has encouraged her to dress up more often and use the mora she spends on herself, Cadence feels that some things are too fragile to survive her daily work environment, and so she puts them deep in her wardrobe. So it seems that these trinkets will come in handy only when Cadence temporarily puts her duties aside and changes into cluttered clothes to have the rest in the shade, or perhaps she might just give it to a friend as a gift. With outsiders pouring in, our village was faced with a variety of unprecedented circumstances. They now had treasure hoarders pretending to be businessmen within the village, mercenary groups hijacking trade caravans, unscrupulous vendors engaged in charlatanry. Moreover, after seeing people who came from abroad, the residents of our village gradually began to yearn for life outside. Gradually, people tried to go out to make a living, and fewer young people were willing to stay in the village. The former guardians had long been dissatisfied with Cadence, who, as they saw it, had abandoned their traditions, seeing that the village was in such a situation. They again held a meeting and prepared to challenge her. What we guardians must do is maintain order in the village. Cadence, what have you done will only cost this village its peace. Cadence, go and fulfill your duties now. As the war of words swayed back and forth, the lance-wielding female warrior suddenly shot up to her full height. That's enough. If you only wish to protect the past of this village, then do it yourself. Whenever your wish to just remain in your homes or leave our village, that is up to you. I will not let the people of our village be bound by the past forever. If you can't move forward, then it's up to me to protect our future." The old guardians were intimidated by her young, fiery eyes making it impossible for them to come forward and question her further. Burning with rare anger, Cadence hefted her long spear and stormed out of the dispute-ridden hut, and, as if in response to her convictions, a shining jewel had appeared at the tip of her lance, that she knew not it had done so. The eyes of the gods had found her, and they had given her their approval. A vision is also a resolute heart, and no further ornament than it may be found anywhere. Her name originates from Greek and Roman sources, wherein the title Candace, a term used for the sister of the king of Kush, was incorrectly assumed to be a hereditary proper name of the Queen of the Ethiopians, and Latinized as Cadence. The most prominent such source is older translations of the biblical book of Acts, Acts 8 verse 27. But according to the Roman author Pliny the Elder, this use was common in Roman literature. Her design references many Egyptian symbols, with the eye on her forehead, a styled version of the eye symbols associated with the gods Horus and Ra. Her heterochromatic eye, similar to Horus, where one represents the sun and the other the moon, though cadences are reversed from Horus, a starry pattern reminiscent of Nut, the goddess of sky, a ring insignia on her shield reminiscent of symbols associated with the goddess Iris, or the neckpiece worn by the pharaoh Tutankhamun, and a ankh worn around her neck. Cadence's shield is said to be blessed by Bennu. Bennu is an Egyptian deity associated with the sun, rebirth, and creation, and was often depicted as a heron. Earlier depictions of Bennu, however, appear more like a yellow wagtail. Seemingly, Cadence's skill in burst weapons the heron and wagtail respectively. Cadence's constellation, Shadida Scudum, is the Latin and means arrow shield. Fact 1. The symbol on Cadence's forehead is likely a reference to the symbol of the Millennium Items in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Franchise, being virtually identical to the fictional symbol created in that series. Fact 2. As explained in her character story 1, Cadence's title as a descendant of King Desert is not a literal descendancy, but rather a term used to refer to all people of our village, as it is the last bastion of his civilization, being as well as a title which all guardians of our village are known as. And that is Cadence. Next time, we will talk about a character mentioned in Amber's info, and May her first appearance in the Genshin Impact manga. And now, she is training to become a forest ranger in the Chimera region of Avidia Forest. And that is Kali. So see you next time when we go over her info.